I feel that gardening and horticulture in general is very analogous to our own human life, and I think it can be very useful to look at the biological processes within the natural world and use them metaphorically to help guide us through our own life. So today I want to talk about the idea of senescence within plant biology. So senescence is essentially like the final stage of a plant's life, but it also depends, because you have annual plants, so they complete their life cycle in just 1 year, which means the senescence denotes the complete end of the life, the breaking down of the organic matter of the plant, so the leaves, the stems, and eventually it rotting back into the soil. But today we're going to look at the idea of deciduous trees, which are a perennial plant, so they live for more than 3 years essentially. That's the categorisation of perennial. So in the autumn time we obviously see these leaves breaking down in their colour. So what is essentially happening is, before the leaves fall, the tree is in fact reabsorbing nutrients from the leaves and storing those nutrients, essentially nutrient recycling, so that it can then utilise them in the spring months as the leaves and buds begin to grow again. And then obviously they start to brown and lose their colour, the chlorophyll, and they will fall off the tree and eventually hit the ground and begin to break down into the soil. So the way I want to look at this is, we have senescence at the end of our lives, obviously, when we're close to our physical body and form dying. But today that's not really what we're focusing on. We're focusing more on the idea of senescence and seasonal change within your own life. And this analogy doesn't necessarily have to correlate with the actual seasons and that time frame throughout the year, but more seasons in your life, having seasons where you're exerting more energy and force out into the world, and seasons where you realise, oh, I need to take a step back and release old thoughts and ideas and slow down a bit and store that energy for when that next season of high energy and output comes. Because, I mean, you all probably know the feeling. We just can't grind forever. Like, our biology's just not set up for that. So the way I want to look at it is in regards to the nutrient recycling of the leaves going back into the tree. You can look at parts of your old self or your current self that you would like to release and let go of. This can be the leaf, but it doesn't mean it has to be viewed as negative. Nothing needs to be seen necessarily as this negative trait or habit, but because you can always learn lessons from it. And that is sort of a metaphor for the nutrients within the leaves that are being reabsorbed essentially. So even if it's been affecting your life in a negative way, this habit or part of this old identity, we can actually reflect on that and think, well, what good actually came out of that happening to me, and sort of reabsorbing that into our soul and utilising it again in the future when we come along new challenges and new tasks within our life. So yeah, and then also in regards to the leaves actually falling to the floor, so to the soil, they will be broken down by many different things, small organisms within the soil, fungi, and eventually sort of microorganisms. So everything has its use, nothing is wasted, which is the point I want to get across about these negative experiences. Like, they're never wasted, and they can be flipped on their head and transmuted into positivity and further fuel you for your future endeavours. So yeah, these will be taken down into the soil by worms. Mould and fungi will break them down, and it will instill a greater diversity into the biodiversity of the soil. The sort of microbiome similar to our gut microbiome. So we're giving the soil more variation, an ability to support even more plant life. So it's sort of naturally refertilising itself, and obviously the roots of the actual tree nearby that drop those leaves, it will again be of benefit to that. But not only that, it will benefit many other plants, and it will increase the organic matter content in the soil, which attracts many more microorganisms, and the cycle continues, and so on. So that part of senescence is sort of similar again, but this time we're sort of expanding that microbiome of our soul, and we're not wasting anything that we've experienced. We're utilising it and expressing it outwardly again when our own next season of spring comes around. And like with the leaves, and I said, the tree, by this process happening and many other processes, is also helping the flora and fauna in the localized area. So we can see how this part of our old self, or habitual patterns that we have shed like the tree, can actually, once we reflect, they can actually help the community around us, and those things can be transmuted into useful tools to help others around you, as is happening here, and also generally just creating that collective sort of biological consciousness within the soil, but within your community and people you converse with and see every day, and the new people you meet. So yeah, I think just in summary, it's the idea of, I mean, senescence could translate to death, and I suppose it could be almost quite harsh, but death, it's going to come to us all. And I think really what we're looking at is the letting go of old ideas, old patterns within our daily routine that are no longer serving us. And by the way, I think it doesn't have to be this necessarily negative viewpoint. It could be something we've really enjoyed for years and really have built a great amount of skill in, like a specific form of movement or art or something, but we've sort of come to this point where it's no longer serving us, and we love it, and It's still embedded in our soul, but for the path we're moving on, it's actually no longer serving us, so we need to shed it, like the leaves, and allow them to blow away in the wind. And that's sort of another really good analogy, like the Wu Wei and the Tao of it all, like the non-doing but allowing it to happen naturally. And to me, that's a great analogy of the wind. It's that, and just that release, and allowing that natural external force to help us in the process of recycling and transmuting this old self and these old patterns into something new. So yeah, hope you enjoyed that, and I'll see you next time. Peace.